Hollie Dunaway, former boxing world champion. I've had quite a few requests to talk about my professional career, each fight. So this is going to be the first of many series where I'm talking about each of my fights. Today we're going to start with my very first fight, but this series will continue. I had 35 professional fights on my record, and I have 8 exhibition professional fights that are not on my record. I'm going to be as detailed and try and remember as much as I can and try to pull you guys in with me so you can feel like you were there also. All right, so starting off, my very first professional fight, I I got into boxing for this woman. I was going to a fitness center just to just to work out, not really to box or anything. I had never got to play a sport, and when I came in, her trainers saw me, and because there was a boxing gym inside of this fitness center. So they saw me and they're like, "Oh wow, hey, a small woman that's 18 years old. You don't find those very often. That are, by the time you're 18, you're over 100 pounds, right? Like usually." So just my small size got their attention, and they, as soon as they saw me, I guess there was, some sort of karmic recognition there. I don't know. I always find that whenever people that are in my life long term or that made a big impact in my life, I look back to the first time I ever met them, and it was like meant to be. It was just effortless, and it was like I knew them all along, or I knew they were supposed to be part of my existence all along. And that seems like, looking back, similar to like how that situation was, because what are the odds? What are the that they just look at me and go, "Oh wow, you're like a tiny little feminine looking female. You look like you'd make a great pro boxing trainer." Deal was they were going to train me for free for a couple of months in exchange for fighting her, and that kind of turned into about 2 weeks from the time that they were like, "This is how you throw a jab," to the time that I was in my first pro fight. So, yeah, it's kind of rushed. I didn't really have a whole lot of time to prepare. Anyone can admit that 2 weeks is pretty rushed from the time you learn how to throw a punch to the time you're in your first professional fight. I was not winning on the scorecards, and she had a bigger cheering section than me. We would fight at the New Daisy Theater on Beale Street in Memphis, Tennessee. And I was living in Arkansas, so it was just a short drive for me. I weighed in at like 105 pounds for the fight. And I was somewhat nervous, but just that not knowing what to expect nervous. It wasn't out of control or anything, because I didn't really know what to expect. And there were fights where the magnitude of the fight later on in my career got a lot greater, and that put more pressure on me. And I was kind of flipping out a little more inside over the years with certain fights. But my first fight, I was cool as a cucumber. You would have never known that I was nervous at all. So I get in there, and I always had a lot of power for a small girl. I think 9 out of my first like 10 or 11 wins were knockouts. So I used to believe in my power and really try to get them out of there. My opponent was much more conditioned and prepared than I was. I didn't know anything about running yet. I just was showing up every single day at the boxing gym, and I really liked it. I felt like I was kind of a natural, especially with straight punches. But looking back at it, I don't even think they taught me how to throw a hook or an uppercut or anything. They were just like, "Yeah, here's a jab, here's a right hand. That's all you're really going to need." So, yeah, I was in there just 1 2 1 2, double jab, right hand, just a bunch of right hands over and over. And I was getting outboxed. There was a lot more people cheering for her than cheering for me, but I heard those people, in the background. The few I did have cheering for me, it made like a huge impact on me because I didn't get to play sports. So I never got to feel that feeling of, being a a rock star or whatever, you know, when people are cheering for you. It's a big ego boost and a big adrenaline boost, and you feel like you could do anything at that moment. So I never experienced that before, and it kind of numbed all my pain. I was landing the harder shots, definitely, which, you know, kind of gave me a little bit of encouragement to stay in there. And, you know, even though I wasn't winning the fight, you know, I was crowd pleasing at least. And she dropped me in the solar plexus with it was a body shot that just completely deflated my diaphragm. This is the only fight that ever happened to me. But yeah, it hurt. And I dropped to the canvas like a sack of bricks, and it was really embarrassing. And they were counting like 4, 5. And, you know, when I got dropped, I didn't even know if I was gonna get up. I had never experienced getting my solar plexus deflated like that, and it wouldn't fill back up with air. It was, you know, it took a little time for that little air pocket to like fill back up. So I probably got up on like 7, and the ref's like, walk to me, you know, you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I can continue, you know. I was as surprised as he was. So I got up, and I didn't last too much longer. I think at the end of the second round, the ref stepped in and stopped it. He thought I was taking too many shots, and yeah, it probably was. But yeah, I never stopped fighting. I've never stopped fighting. I've never quit in a fight. I guess I've gotten tired in some fights, you know, and my output slowed down. But I've always had a big heart when it comes to boxing, and that started off in the very beginning. So yeah, it crushed me a little bit, but I just knew I didn't want to lose anymore. But there was no part of me that didn't want to get back in the gym like the next day. And I think I fought on like a Tuesday, and I was back in the gym on Wednesday, and my trainer's like, you gotta take a day off and, you know, let your body recover. And I had this energy that I never had before, and it was just continuing, you know. I was on this high, and I found my calling. And yeah, he couldn't talk me out of leaving. He had to let me do a workout, even though, you know, he didn't really train me that day. He just kind of stayed down there, and we talked about the fight while I was doing a workout. But you couldn't keep me out of the gym the first like year or so. I just had this hunger and this work ethic that I haven't really seen a whole lot of fighters with. And I certainly don't possess it anymore. So for all of you who are bugging me about, am I going to make a professional comeback in boxing, like, just let me relive some memories and appreciate, you know, what I did accomplish. And no, I'm not coming back. I am coming back to have a cage fight for LFC in Vegas. It just got moved to October, so you will get to see me have other fights. And I do a lot of stunt work, boxing and jiu-jitsu, so, you know, you'll still get to see me in action. But as far as like professional life, boxing and giving up my life for it, again, yeah, you just get comfortable with these 43 stories, because this is the last of professional boxing you guys are going to get to view with me through this lens. And hope you enjoy the stories, guys. More to come on holliedunaway.com and on YouTube.